Hello student. In last lecture we see the what is mean by respiration, its type, that is aerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration, internal, external respiration, and the system, respiratory system or organs in different animals. So today we talk about the anatomy and structure of the respiratory system in human being. Mostly we can say that the respiratory system is a biological system which consists of the specific organ and structure used for the gases exchange in human. Mostly this respiratory system consists of the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi and lungs, which is whole together called as the respiratory tract. Mostly this respiratory tract can be divided into two parts, that is upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. In upper respiratory tract, which consist nasal cavity, pharynx and associated structure, where lower respiratory tract consists of the larynx, trachea, bronchi and lungs. So in this figure you have to see these structures. So this is nasal cavity and this part is pharynx, then larynx. This is trachea, which is divided into two bronchus, that is right and left bronchus. This is right lung and this is left lung. So mostly respiratory unit where the mostly respiration takes place, that is the respiratory unit is the terminal portion of the respiratory tract, which include the respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts, antrum, alveolar sac and alveoli. Mostly the gaseous exchange between the blood and lungs take place in this structure. So let's start with the anatomy of the respiratory system. So first part is nose and nasal cavity. Nasal cavity anatomy is essential for both breathing and our sense of smell. But did you know that 80% of taste actually comes what we smell? That is why food is almost tasteless when our nose is clogged. The nose is prominent part of human face. It has the external and internal part. External part function to protect the inner nose and allow the entry of the air. The internal part of the nose is termed the nasal cavity. External nose anatomy is quite simple. It is a pyramidal structure with its root located superiorly and apex sitting anteriorly. The part between root and apex is called the dorsum of the nose. Inferior to the apex are the two nostrils, which are the opening to the nasal cavity. The nostrils are separated by the septum. The bony part shape the nose roof formed by the nasal, maxillary and frontal bones. The internal part of the nose is nasal cavity. So this is the figure of the nasal cavity. The two nasal cavities sit within the external nose and the adjacent skull. The cavity open anteriorly face through the two nostrils, and posteriorly the cavity communicate with the nasopharynx. So beside the anterior and posterior aperture, each nasal cavity has roof, floor, lateral and medial wall. There are 12 cranial bones in total that contribute to nasal cavity structure, which include paired nasal, maxillary, palatine, and lacrimal bone, as well as unpaired ethmoidal bone, sphenoid, frontal, and vomer bone. In this ethmoid bone, in ethmoid bone is most important because firstly, it makes the greatest portion of the nasal skeletal framework by forming the roof and wall of the nasal cavities. It contains ethmoidal cell, which as a group are one of the four paranasal sinus. So, three bony slave called inferior, middle, and superior nasal conchae are attached to the lateral wall and by projecting into the air channel. So, this is inferior nasal conchae, middle nasal conchae, and nasal conchae or superior nasal conchae. So, inferior nasal meatus in between the floor and inferior concha. The superior or middle, sorry, the middle nasal meatus between the inferior and middle concha. The superior nasal meatus between the middle and superior concha. The sphenoidal recess between the superior concha and the nasal cavity roof. So these are the four main metas. The two nasal cavity communicate with four bony recesses called paranasal sinus. They name according to the bone they are placed within as sphenoids, sinus, maxillary sinus and frontal sinus. So mostly the function of these nasal cavity coordinated by the nervous system. Mostly the nose innervated by the three cranial nerves. So first, olfaction is provided by the olfactory nerve. So olfaction is a smell, it is a sense of smell which is provided by the olfactory nerve. General sensation is carried by the trigeminal nerve. And the seronosus gland is nasal mucosa which produce fluid that constantly lubricate the nose wall are inverted by the parasympathetic fiber of the facial nerve. Mostly the function of the nasal passage or nose is air is drawn into the body via nose or mouth. There are two advantages to breathing through your nose. The air is warm so that it is closer to body temperature. Tiny hair and mucus in the nose filter the air, preventing larger dust and pollen particles reaching the alveoli. Mucus moisten the air and making it easier for the alveoli to absorb. Air then travels through the larynx, trachea, bronchi and bronchus to the alveoli where oxygen passes into the bloodstream. Second part is pharynx. So pharynx is a cone-shaped passageway leading from the oral and nasal cavity in the head of the esophagus and larynx. The pharynx chambers serve both respiratory and digestive function. Thick fibers of muscle and connective tissue attach the pharynx to the base of the skull and surrounding structure. Both circular and longitudinal muscle occur in walls of the pharynx. The circular muscle from contraction that help push food to the esophagus and prevent air from being swallowed, while the longitudinal fibers lift the wall of the pharynx during swallowing. So this is the anatomy of the pharynx, which is consist of the three main division. The anterior portion is nasal pharynx or nasopharynx, back section of the nasal cavity. The nasal pharynx connect to the second region, that is oropharynx or oral pharynx, by means of the passage called as isthmus. The oral pharynx, being at back of the mouth cavity, continue down to the throat to epiglottis, the flap of tissue that cover the air passage to the lungs and that channel food of the esophagus. Triangular shaped recesses in wall of this region house the palatine tonsil, two masses of lymphatic tissue prone to infection. The isthmus connecting the oral and nasal region is extremely beneficial in human. It allows them to breathe through either the nose or the mouth and when medically necessary allow food to be passed to the esophagus by nasal tubes. The third region is hypopharynx or laryngeal pharynx, which begin at the epiglottis and lead down to the esophagus. Its function is to regulate the passage of the air to the lung and food to the esophagus. The two small tubes connect the middle ear to the pharynx, allow air pressure on the eardrum to be equalized. Hair cold sometimes inflame the tubes, causing earache and hearing difficulties. Other medical afflictions associated with the pharynx include tonsillitis, cancer, various type of throat paralysis caused by the polio, diphtheria, rabies, or nervous system injuries. So mostly the structure or pharynx is composed of the three layer of tissue, that is mucous membrane lining, fibrous tissue and smooth muscles. So mostly the blood supply provided to the pharynx by the facial artery, facial vein and internal jugular veins. The nervous control which control the function of the pharynx is by vagus nerve and glossopharyngeal nerves. Point is larynx. The larynx is an organ located in the anterior neck. It is component of respiratory tract and has several important functions including phonation, the cough reflex and the protection of the lower respiratory tract. It is also known as the voice box. It is somewhat cylindrical in shape and with end to the trachea, which is prevent the solid material from entering into the lower respiratory tract and conduct air into the lower respiratory tract. This is the site where the sound is produced. So mostly there are 9 cartilage located within the larynx, 3 unpaired and 6 paired. They form the laryngeal skeleton which provide rigidity and stability. So let's see the diagram. So this is the diagram where we see the position of larynx. So this is the larynx. Let's see the structure of the larynx. So in this structure we see the 9 cartilage, okay, 6, 3 unpaired and 6 paired. So 3, let's start with the unpaired cartilage. The 3 unpaired cartilage are epiglottis, thyroid and cricoid cartilage. First of all, thyroid cartilage. So thyroid, in this figure you can see that in brown color this is thyroid cartilage. Okay, here also this is thyroid cartilage. So the thyroid cartilage is large, prominent structure which is easily visible in adult males. It is composed of two sheets which join together anteriorly to form the laryngeal prominence, or also called as Adam's apple. The posterior border of each sheet projects superiorly and anteriorly to form superior and inferior horns. The superior horn are connected to the hyoid bone via lateral thyroid ligament, while the inferior horn articulate with the cricoid cartilage. Next is cricoid cartilage. Second one is cricoid cartilage. In this figure you can see this is yellow colored organ is cricoid cartilage here also. Okay. So mostly the cricoid cartilage is complete ring of hyaline cartilage consisting of broad sheet posteriorly and much narrower arch anteriorly. The cartilage completely encircle the airway, marking inferior border of the larynx at the level of C6. It articulates with the paired arytenoid cartilage posteriorly as well as providing an attachment for inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. The cricoid is the only complete circle of the cartilage in larynx or trachea. This is clinical relevance during emergency intubation as a pressure can be applied to the cricoid to occlude the esophagus and thus prevent the regurgitation of the gastric content. So next part is epiglottis. In this structure you can see that this is green part. Okay, this green part is a epiglottis. So epiglottis is a leaf-shaped plate of the elastic cartilage which mark the entrance of the larynx. Its stalk is attached to the back of the anterior aspect of the thyroid cartilage. During swallowing, the epiglottis flatten and move posteriorly to close up the larynx and prevent aspiration. So next point is pair cartilage. So there are 3 pair cartilage, the arytenoid, the corniculate and cuneiform. They are situated bilaterally in the larynx. First of all, arytenoid cartilage. So in this figure you can see this blue color. Okay, so this blue color structure is arytenoid cartilage. So the arytenoid cartilage are pyramidal shaped structure that sit on the cricoid cartilage. They consist of an apex, base, three sides and two processes and provide an attachment point for the various key structure in the larynx. So first apex articulate with the corniculate cartilage, base articulate with the superior border of the cricoid cartilage, vocal process provide attachment for the vocal ligament, muscular process provide attachment for the posterior and lateral criconoid muscle. Then corniculate cartilage. So corniculate cartilage you can see this, okay, this purple shape or purple color organ is corniculate cartilage. The corniculate cartilage are minor cartilaginous structure. They articulate with the apex of the arytenoid cartilage. So last one is cuneiform cartilage. The cuneiform cartilage are located within the aryepiglottic fold. They have no direct attachment but act as a strengthen to the folds. Next point is trachea. So mostly trachea is hollow tube-like structure that runs from larynx or voice box to the bronchi, the two passageways that connect the trachea to the lungs. The average length of trachea is about 11.8 cm and male's trachea is typically longer than females. So this is the figure of trachea. You can see this is the figure of trachea. So the mucous membrane similar to those in the nasal cavity line is interior of the trachea. Cell in this membrane called goblet cell release mucus to help prevent microorganisms and debris from entering the lungs. The trachea is also lined with the tiny hair-like structure called as cilia. This help push mucus that contain debris or pathogen out of the trachea. A person then either swallow or spit out the mucus. Soft tissue make up most of the trachea and cartilage provide the extra support. The trachea runs parallel to the esophagus and lies just in front of it. The back of trachea is softer and to allow the esophagus to expand when a person is eating. Due to their proximity, a small piece of cartilage in larynx automatically cover the opening of the trachea to prevent food or drink from getting into it when the person is eating. If food or drink do get into trachea, this is typically cause the person to cough. So if a piece of food is particularly large, it could be become trapped in the trachea and obstruct breathing. So mostly the function of trachea, maybe the primary function of the trachea is to transport air to and from the lungs. Without a trachea, the person would not able to breathe. In addition to transporting air, the trachea help to defend against disease. The mucus in trachea help capture the microorganisms such as viruses and harmful bacteria before they enter the lungs, because lungs are very smooth in nature. So trachea also help regulate the temperature of the air coming in and out of the lungs. On cold day, the trachea help warm and provide humidity to air before it reaches the lungs, and on hot day, the trachea help to cool the air through the evaporation. So mostly the structure of this trachea is composed of three layers of tissue. First one is fibrous and elastic tissue, second is smooth muscles, and third one is a ciliated columnar epithelium. Mostly it is held open by between the 16 to 20 incomplete cartilage. You can see this is C-shaped cartilage. It is about 60 to 20 in number. So mostly the blood supply is provided by the inferior thyroid artery and bronchial artery to the trachea. So mostly the function of the cartilage, sorry, the function of the trachea is carried out or controlled by the nervous system, that is laryngeal nervous system. So next point is bronchi and bronchioles. So after trachea, the bronchi are the main passageway into the lungs. When someone take the breath through their nose or mouth, the air travel into larynx. The next step is through the trachea, which carry the air to the left and right bronchus. So mostly trachea are divided into two primary bronchi, right bronchus and left bronchus. So first of all, right bronchus. So right bronchus is wider, shorter and move vertical than the left bronchus. So mostly the length of this bronchus is 2.5 centimeter. After entering the right lung, it divided into three branches, one to each lobe. The left bronchus is narrower than the right. It is about 5 in centimeter. After entering the left lung, it divided into two branches, one to each lobe. So mostly the bronchi become smaller, smaller and closer they get to the lung tissue are then considered the bronchioles. So this is the figure of the bronchus and bronchioles. This passageway then involves into tiny air sacs called alveoli, which is the site of oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange in the respiratory system. Primary bronchi are located in the upper portion of the lungs, which secondary bronchi near to the center of the lungs. Tertiary bronchi are located near the bottom of these organs, just above the bronchioles. No gases exchange occur in any of the bronchi when the bronchi becomes swollen due to irritant or infection. So mostly it is called as bronchitis. Result in makes the breathing more difficult. Bronchitis sufferer also tend to have much more mucus and phlegm than someone without inflamed bronchus. So mostly the structure of bronchi is composed of the same tissue as a trachea, that is ciliated columnar epithelium. We can see the division of bronchi. Okay, trachea is divided into two bronchus, then bronchioles, then terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, alveolar duct and alveoli. Ciliated columnar mucous membrane change gradually to non-ciliated cuboidal shaped cell in the distal bronchioles. The wider passage are called as conducting airway. Conducting airway bring air into lungs and their walls are too thick to permit gas exchange. Mostly, the blood supply is provided by the bronchial arteries and the nervous control is provided by the vagus nerve. So next structure is respiratory bronchioles and alveoli. So mostly each lobule is supplied with the air by the terminal bronchioles. So bronchioles open into the short segment called terminal bronchioles, which are thin walled branches of the bronchioles. Terminal bronchioles transition into respiratory bronchioles. Respiratory bronchioles are lined by two types of epithelial cell, ciliated columnar cell and club cell. So mostly about 150 million alveoli is present in the adult lungs. In this structure, that is the process of gas exchange occur. Mostly the intake and outtake of the O2 and CO2 take place. So mostly these respiratory bronchioles are lined by the two epithelial cell. First one is ciliated columnar cell and second one is club cell. Histologically, club cell are the cuboidal epithelial cell that lack cilia but contain microvilli. Club cell are rich in cytochrome P450, an enzyme responsible for biotransformation of inhaled and circulating toxin. So mostly the wall of respiratory bronchioles are discontinuous, forming opening into alveolar duct. Alveolar duct are a conducting region are lined by the knob-like projection of the cuboidal epithelium that cover small amount of smooth muscle. These projection of the cuboidal epithelium are often located on either side of the entrance into the alveolar sac which branch from the walls of the alveolar duct. Alveolar sac are indistinct segments that open into the individual alveoli. So here this is the diagram where actually gas exchange are take place. So the alveoli are the bunch of the tiny air sac inside the lung. Each individual sac is called as alveolus. When we breathe in, they fill with the air. Mostly the alveoli are covered with the tiny capillary where the gas are passed through the thin walls of each alveolus and capillary and into the bloodstream. Gas can also pass from the bloodstream into the alveolus. So alveoli are the grouped in the cluster and network of capillaries are surrounded in the each alveolus. So you can see the exchange of the gases are take place. This is the alveoli which is filled full of the oxygen, and this is the capillary blood capillary where the O2 and CO2 exchange are occur. So next point is lung. So there are two lungs in human beings, one lying each side. So shape of these lungs are conical shape. Mostly the lungs are spongy expandable organ that occupy the thoracic cavity. Although they occur in pairs, they are morphologically different. Each lung occupies the respective hemithorax within the mediastinum and its content located between them. They are suspended freely within the pleural membrane and only attached to the trachea and heart by the main bronchioles and pulmonary vessel respectively. The morphological difference between left and right lung is also reflected in the weight of the organs, as the left weigh less than the right. They also tend to the heavier in men than they are in women. Although these features it depend on the height of the individual. Furthermore, the adult lungs has dark molted appearance that is reflective of the filtration of the carbon-based moisture from the airway. This is significantly different from the lungs of the newborn, which are the light pink. So mostly the side or each lung is characterized by an apex, a base, a costal and medial surface, and anterior, posterior, and inferior borders. The organ is roughly conical in shape and divided in fissures into lobes. The left lung has two lobes and one fissure, while the right lung having three lobes and two fissures. So in this figure you can see that the right lung having the two fissures. Okay, in this figure you can see the right lung having the two fissures, that is horizontal fissure and oblique fissure, and having three lobe, that is superior lobe, middle lobe and inferior lobe. And left lung having two lobes, that is superior lobe and inferior lobe, while one fissure, that is oblique fissure. So mostly the apex is the highest point of the lung extending into the thoracic inlet. So mostly we can say that the lungs are divided into right lung and left lung. Let's see the anatomy of the right lung. So mostly the right lung has more lobe than the left lung. So it is divided into three lobe: upper and superior lobe, then middle lobe, and then lower and inferior lobe. So they are separated by two fissures, that is one oblique fissure which separate middle and lower lobe, and second one horizontal fissure which separate middle and upper lobe. So next is left lung. The left lung is divided into two lobes, upper lobe and lower lobe. They separated by the oblique fissure. Left lung does not have middle lobe. The mediastinal surface of the left lung has a large cardiac impression or cardiac notch where the heart sits. So mostly the blood supply is provided by the bronchial arteries and pulmonary capillaries, where there is an exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide take place between the blood and tissue. So mostly the function of the lungs are controlled by the nervous system, that is vagus nerve. Mostly the lungs function as a control of air entry, warming and humidifying, support and patency, removal of the particulate matter, and cough reflex. So I hope you understand this topic, that is anatomy and structure of the respiration in human being. So in this topic we see the all the structures regarding to respiratory system. See you in next lecture.